Welcome back, Midnight viewers, to Father Malone's Weekly Roundup. I'm Father Malone, and with me, parsing through the waves of streaming services, is my co-host, Ripley Jean. Say hi to the folks, Ripley. There she is. And here we are. Once again, we're going to go with the most current choice of the week, and then we'll get to our individual picks. Because you're the co-host. You can decide the order when you're the host. Never. Okay, this one's still in theaters, though I'm pretty sure you can get it on any streamer right now, though it's going to cost you in more ways than one. Remember when James Cameron took a meeting at 20th Century Fox, and he wrote on a whiteboard, Alien, and then, at the end, he wrote S, and then he drew two lines through the S, turning it into a dollar sign. That man was a prophet. Or is it profit? F-I-T. I'm technically your dad, so every joke to you is a dad joke. Okay? As popular as Aliens was, that pluralization craze just never really took off. Maybe it was a unique occurrence. Here, to help solidify that theory, is Twisters. S, plural. More than one. Though, there was more than one in the first film, so it doesn't really make sense. I mean, in Alien, there was one alien. So when you called it Aliens, and a fuckload of aliens showed up, it made sense. Anyway, Twisters.
Dodge whatever's in there. It's big and it's moving fast. Drive. Go, go, go! Guys, you gotta get out of here. Do you hear me? Tyler Owens calls himself a tornado wrangler. If you feel it, chase it! I said if you feel it, chase it! All right, here we go. Oh, she's perfect!
She's gorgeous!
You thought you could destroy a tornado.
We never had a chance.
You want one? You don't face your fears. You ride them.
We got twins! Twins!
Is that it? Nope.
Back in 1996, when the trailer for Twisters hit theaters, it was pretty exhilarating. It resonated along with Backdraft as far as ideas that had just been sitting around forever without any cinematic attention. Storm chasers, tornadoes. It sounds like $1 million idea. Or a $2 million idea, which is what Michael Crichton got for that pamphlet of a screenplay that required on-set rewrites at a cost of $100,000 a week by the likes of Joss Whedon and Steven Zaillian. Now, this definitely wasn't the first time a trailer overpromised on a premise. What was gripping to me wasn't the CGI devastation or that fucking cow. It was the tense use of the film's prologue. Young Helen Hunt and her family trying desperately to survive when the tornado hits. The father just holding on for dear life. I thought it was pretty harrowing. It's less so in its full state in the film, which I was never really sure why it was, other than they kept dropping black frames into the trailer as if the lights were going off and on, which was super effective and missing from the film. But then that film, to me, is wildly disappointing overall. Why are there villains? An evil science team? The film has the biggest, most ferocious antagonist in history. But I guess it's not looking to make a few bucks, so it isn't as evil as Carrie Elway's. Oh my god, this was my first experience with Philip Seymour Hoffman. My god, they made me really dislike Philip Seymour Hoffman. Suckage. Ugh. That film has barely anything to do with Twisters. Because it's decades later and there are no returning characters, and there are only a couple of clumsy callbacks to the original film. By the way, is there no other frame of reference with tornadoes than The Wizard of Oz? The evil science team in this one has another Dorothy, but now we've got 3 new components: Tin Man, Scarecrow, and lack of vision of the screenwriter. What's the plot this time? Instead of Helen Hunt losing her father to a tornado as a young girl, we get our lead character, played by Daisy Edgar Jones. She's like a waspy Mira Sorvino. She bungles an experiment that leads to the death of 3 of her friends, including her boyfriend, in a prologue set 5 years ago. One of the friends that gets sucked up into the sky is Kiernan Shipka, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I can never decide if she's a good actress or if I just feel proud of her like a surrogate dad, having watched her grown up on Mad Men. I don't know, someday I'll figure that out. Daisy Edgar Jones has to come back to the storm-chasing life after 5 years, and when she does, everything's changed. Now there are teams. There's a good team and a bad team. But which is which? Doesn't matter, they're both insufferable. Glenn Powell leads the YouTube group of wacky folk. They've got drones, they got fireworks, they got trucks that drill themselves into the ground, even at an airport. No spoilers, but if this film was at all interested in reality, Glenn Powell is going to spend a long time speaking to the TSA and other government agencies as the credits are rolling. This, Twisters, it's not a good movie. The effects are superior, and it looks fucking fantastic. This has more beautiful Americana than 3 Michael Bay films put together. And the scenes of destruction are admittedly spectacular. But you know what? It cost $155 million. It better look fucking great. Though I will commend the film for not making the grievous mistake of including a scene with The Shining playing at a drive-in. That was the first time I noticed the phenomenon, I'd rather be watching the film the characters are watching than the film with them in it. I think Twisters is actually superior to the first film, but it's far more frustrating, because in the middle of the second act, Daisy Edgar Jones and Glenn Powell dispense with their teams for an interlude with Jones's mom, played by the always welcome Maura Tierney. Put her in more things. She's always solid in drama or comedy. Remember her in News Radio? Remember her on ER? Enough said. Anyway, the scenes between the 2 leads, they hint at a far superior film. Once they stripped it of action movie and romantic comedy cliches, it became a movie about 2 people finding each other through a shared obsession, and suddenly there were stakes. Suddenly there were characters. Suddenly I cared. And then the teams came back, and it's a race against time, and blah, blah, blah. I checked out. Like I said, it's better than the original in a lot of ways, but I hated that movie, so it's not really a recommendation. But I suppose if you don't want to waste your money, then it is a recommendation. But I am not recommending Twisters. See it for free when you want to see it. Of course you didn't like it. The concept of wind confuses you. We're going to do my selection next because you just keep picking bangers, so we're saving that for last. I don't know why first equals best to you. Phoenix doesn't open for the Undeads. She's the headliner. You're the headliner. You're Phoenix. I'm the Undeads. I'm the Juicy Fruits. I did used to rock a mean pompadour. It was green and a foot high. You would have loved it. And here's something I loved. It's on Max right now, so it's free if you subscribe. Seeing Alien Romulus last week got me pondering the career of Fede Alvarez, particularly his American debut. It was a remake. My God, is there anything original? Yes, this movie. This is exactly how you remake a classic film. From 2013, this is The Evil Dead.
David. Please. You have to get me out of here.
Leave this book alone.
You don't understand. There was something in the woods. And I think it's in here with us now.
released something from that book. Something evil. This thing is attached to Mia's soul. We're gonna have to kill her.
You are all going to die tonight. We're gonna get you, not another piece. Time to go to sleep.
The original Evil Dead is a classic, no doubt, as is its sequel, and to a lesser degree, a far lesser degree, that Ash vs. Evil Dead series. And Evil Dead fans are voracious, man. Too much is never enough. They got 3 movies and a TV series, and they're still howling for the return of Ash Williams. So when it was announced that an Ash-free remake was on the way, let's just say fans weren't thrilled. But I remember the establishment backlash against John Carpenter's The Thing, so fuck that way of thinking. If someone has a good idea and it's not some by-committee nonsense, then fucking go for it. You actually have a better chance of improving a horror film than pretty much any other genre. And I'd gladly stick Alvarez's remake up against The Thing or The Fly. That's right, it's that good. He took this trope of young adults out in the woods unleashing evil and turned it on its head. Here, the group have come to the cabin to help the lead, Mia, played by Jean Levy, to clean up from her latest relapse in drug addiction. It's a potent setup, and it pays off over and over. And while we've all grown accustomed to the over-the-top, so excessive it becomes laughable levels of gore in the Evil Dead films, Alvarez wisely returns the horror to more intimate and relatable levels. Look, it's going to rain blood at some point, but it feels like an inevitability and not a cheap joke. The performances are strong across the board, and there are genuine moments of dread. And there were some scenes that, honestly, when I watched it the first time, I found so hardcore I looked away. And all those effects, they're practical, which is another nice nod to the original. They are also wildly effective. Here's the thing. This is actually a sequel. Ash's car is there, rusting away when our characters arrive. And I know everyone embraced Evil Dead Rise, which I found to be just okay. I never connected with anyone in it, so it was just a matter of watching a bunch of characters run and hide and bleed and drool. But I didn't care at all what was said and done. I cared about Mia. Still do. Still holding out hope for a proper sequel with her in it. Speaking of Mia's, and now, look, I'm not trying to pit anyone against each other here, but everyone is going on and on about Mia Goth. But it seems to me like she's cultivating a Scream Queen persona, which, to me, just reeks of effort. Just trying too hard. Is that a Gen X thing? I don't know. But even if we don't hold that against her, lack of eyebrows is off-putting. But Jane Levy, who's had a damned fine career weaving in and out of many genres, is the real deal. She is a Scream Queen Supreme. This film, and especially in Alvarez's follow-up, Don't Breathe, they ought to put her in the pantheon of horror icons. And she has fine, healthy eyebrows. I think Evil Dead still would have worked with a different lead, but I'm glad we don't have to find out. Evil Dead, stop being a snob. Go watch it. I know, well, we're here. We're here, and now I gotta reveal something about you. Ripley can be a bit rambunctious when we're watching potential shows and movies to cover here. For instance, initially, my idea for this episode was to be a canine-themed episode for my delightful co-host, but every dog movie I put on was met with a chorus of barking and general freaking outness. So I was shocked when she positively locked on to this next pick. I mean, it's dog-free, but oh my God, her pick is mine as well. I don't play much in the arena of nostalgia. It's fine re-experiencing things, but too often people want to live there, and that's gross. But the re-experiencing itself, the flood of memories coming back, oh boy, did that ever happen when we randomly ended up watching this show that I used to consume like a fiend when I was 11 years old. This was serious daydreaming and detailed doodling, that kind of a show. It was the last from producer Jerry Anderson. He's the man that brought us Thunderbirds, which sadly most will only remember as the inspiration for Team America World Police. That marionette style you all remember is on full display here, though with a twist. No strings at all. From 1983, Terrahawks.
The year 2020. Alien forces attack Mars, destroying the NASA base. Their ships lock together to form the base from which they will launch their attacks on Earth. The aliens are led by Zelda. Zelda and her evil powers present a constant threat to Earth. 1,000 feet below, the Battlehawk, flagship of the Terrahawks, an elite fighting force dedicated to the defense of planet Earth. Dr. Neinstein, commander of the Terrahawks, one of 9 clones. He daily commits his memory to the data dump of the Terrahawk mainframe computer. But when Neinstein dies, Neinstein's experience is induced into the clone's brain, and Tiger Neinstein, the cat with 9 lives, is back. Daredevil pilot of Hawkwing, Captain Kate Kestrel, and her gunnery officer, Hawkeye. Her fabulous mountain home reflects her success as an international recording artist. Meet her A&R man, Stu Dapples.
What's happening, Stu?
Right, okay, now what's happening, okay? You know, this Kate Kestrel, she's late. You know, again, yeah?
All right, lads.
The Zeroids,
Let's have some more.
led by Sergeant Major Zero. They have been programmed with different personalities.
Space flight? All right. Who is that?
That is 5-5.
Why can't he be normal like the rest of us?
Let's see how the Terrahawks can cope with your little tricks.
Finally, in suspended animation, Zelda's terrifying monsters, brought from other planets in the universe to be unleashed against planet Earth. Sram, Lord of Felony, the mighty Sporilla, Yuri, the Space Bear, Moid, Master of Infinite Disguise.
I wear many faces, but have none of my own.
And many more, all being kept on ice for future episodes. Terrahawks, something for everyone. A final message from the White House. Terrahawks, a family show that proves that you can please all of the people all of the time.
I had an odd relationship with the Thunderbirds. I loved those ships, loved the models, loved the action, and I could not get past the goddamned marionettes. I'm sorry, but 1960s string tech was pretty hard to swallow after Star Wars. And there was a glut of shitty kids television made in the wake of Star Wars. Jason of Star Command comes to mind, and as bad as they were, there was nary a string in sight. I know that's an odd determining factor, but I fully accepted the Muppets, so it's not a puppet thing. I know it's not a puppetry thing, because once Jerry Anderson dispensed with super marionation, replacing it with super macronation, that's where marionettes are replaced with hand puppets, it became a whole different thing. The distinction shouldn't matter, but it does. It gives the characters a range of movement denied in the other series. Another reason I couldn't get behind the Thunderbirds was how goddamn leftover 1950s squeaky clean it was. It was like Johnny Quest. They were all so goddamn earnest. I'm sure it was corny when it was being made, but by 1983 it deserved its own unique popcorn bucket from AMC. So you can imagine my confusion one early Saturday morning when a show comes on that at first glance seems to be nothing more than a Thunderbirds clone. But then you look a little closer, not only is it employing the superior super macronation, but the entire show is a lot looser, funnier, and deadlier, and really oddball. You heard that little trailer? I cut that together from what I'm assuming was a presentation trailer for affiliates who were deciding whether or not to program the show. It was 14 minutes initially. But from it, I'm sure you got a sense of how fucking bonkers this show was. Terrahawks are the Earth-based defending heroes. Each character has their own signature vehicle, and they're all assisted by Zeroids, these metal spheres that predate BB-8, though these actually open up to reveal faces that look very similar to that of Vincent in The Black Hole. The Zeroids have distinct personalities and their own odd foibles that infuriate our lead character. He's constantly dressing down these most helpful characters for yearning to be more human. The guy freaking out on them, by the way, is a clone, and he dies on the show. This is a kid's show. I'll get back to that. Hold on. So the Terrahawks are cool. Their vehicles, their army of Zeroids are all totally badass. All of the models. The base is underneath the White House, which cracks open every time a ship takes off, unless they're coming up from their underwater base, in which case they create a whirlpool in the middle of the ocean that they use to fly out of. The show is incredibly inventive. It is incredibly clever. And if you love practical effects, you can't get any more practical than this. It is ambitious and serialized. And the villains, on occasion, are genuinely fucking scary. The main baddie, Zelda, and her offspring aren't just out-and-out scary, but they're androids who have chosen a human appearance. But the human appearance they've chosen basically look like apples left to dry on a windowsill. They're leathery walking corpses. They look like Grandma at the end of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. That's what they've chosen to assimilate with. But the fact that they have it, it's easy to forget that they're synthetic, because they're from a race of androids that revolted against their slave masters and fled to Mars, and now they want Earth. This series is complicated and crazy. One of the leads is a pop star, so on occasion, the show just stops for a performance. Everything is animate, the cars, the vehicles, the tools, they all have personalities. And again, this is a kid's show. Rewatching these, and yes, I watched a good 20 or so of the 39 episodes available, this has solidified my belief that up until recently, British people could not conceive of science fiction as anything other than for children. This, according to them, is a kid's show. Doctor Who was a kid's show. Now, it certainly started out that way, with lessons from the Doctor for his young companions, and it certainly fucking feels like that once again this current season, Russell. But I remember watching Genesis of the Daleks. That's the fourth Doctor, the madman with the scarf, you know, the best Doctor. That's a 2-part time travel episode where the Doctor is given the opportunity to wipe out the Daleks, the unstoppable killing machines that the Time Lords have been at war with for millennia before they were created. And it's scary, and it's exciting, and it's a contemplation on genocide. No question about it. It's a debate that occurs on screen, and it's a kid's show. The UK television industry absolutely warped generations of young minds by showing them shows like that and like Terrahawks. Now, having said that, I can't stress how good this show is, how much it demands of its young audience, how much it respects its young audience. So I guess I'm kind of recommending this to people with kids. I'd say 12 is probably the cutoff. They're probably not going to think it's cool after that. And the intro age, I'm just going to leave up to you. But I can't imagine there's much more out there that could compare with this show. And it's free on Roku right now. All 39 glorious episodes. You know, before we go, I just want to mention one last thing about it. The lead character, Dr. Neinstein. He's constantly playing this video game, right? He's trying to beat some elusive high score. It's a running gag throughout the entire series, right? Whenever he's not around, the lead Zeroid, Sergeant Major Zero, not to be confused with Dix Huet, the French Zeroid with the handlebar mustache. Anyway, he constantly plays the video game and is just crushing it just to fuck with Neinstein. I don't know, man. I love this show. I'm glad I rewatched it. I'm still rewatching it. I have about 19 more to go. And speaking of going, yes, it's time to say goodbye, young Ripley. You are absolutely going to watch the rest of those episodes with me. It's my TV. Fine. If you're pocking work the mouse, watch anything you want on the computer. Midnight viewers, thank you once again for joining us here at the Roundup. Be sure to tune in this Friday. We have an all-new Anthologies Attack, where Antonio Lepore and I will be living life on the multi-plane camera plates of Walt Disney's classic Fantasia. Until then, I should point out that Midnight Viewing is part of the Weirding Way Media Group, and our theme song was composed by HP. If you want to support the show, the easiest way is giving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. It makes a huge difference. Or you can share the show or tell someone to give it a try. Although, if you're one of those rare creatures with extra money in your pocket and a yen to support a show, you can go to patreon.com/Father Malone and subscribe. You'll get shows early and commercial-free and bonus content that these plebes aren't privy to. And bonus content that these plebs aren't privy to. Plebs? Plebes? I heard it in a video game as plebs. I always thought it was plebes. Anyway, until next time, I'm going to leave you with a line from this puppet extravaganza. Terrahawks, stay on this channel. This is an emergency.